Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome a very, very accomplished entrepreneur, a fellow YPO from Washington, D.C., USA, Mr. Rabih Zahnan. Rabih, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you. Rabih is the president of Sorensen Gross. And as I mentioned, he's a member of the YPO, an organization that I have belonged to for a long, long time. So, Rabih, let's start by asking you about your journey from technology to engineering to real estate development. Tell me about your journey across multiple businesses.
It has been an interesting journey, that's for sure. I'm a believer in the old philosophy of being a Renaissance man or person. I never wanted to be locked into a certain career. In the university, I studied mechanical engineering, and then I realized as much as I enjoy mathematics, I wanted to be more involved with people and understand how people work. So I continued my education and focused on communication. And ended up also getting a master's degree in negotiation and conflict resolution. And it's been a wonderful journey, both on the educational level and professionally. I started my career in technology, as you mentioned, in management consulting with the technology field back with KPMG Consulting. Then I actually went to Oracle, and which was an amazing experience out in San Francisco during the tech boom of the 1990s, and then was very fortunate to be part of a team that started our first software company in the late 1990s, which did very well, and we're very grateful. Which after they exited from that first entrepreneurial venture, that exit, there was some capital there and opportunities for new adventure, and I went into the real estate development industry back in 2001. At the same time, we started an engineering firm that did civil engineering, and we noticed how the industry changed after September 11th, where money moved from infrastructure to defense, and that was the rise of the technology in the defense industry. So I spent more of my time focused on the real estate development, and we were actually one of the first high luxury, and when I mean luxury, I mean 3,000 plus square foot condominiums in Center City, Philadelphia, when that area was not developed at all, and took the risk and grew that into a very successful business. Over the years, had some amazing investors who worked with us and who became very close friends and became mentors. And one of these amazing investors was Mr. Ghassan Saab, who is the chairman of Sorensen Gross. And he came to me about 5 years ago to discuss a succession plan and asked me if I would be interested in joining Sorensen Gross.
Wow.
So it was interesting because I always had an experience with contractors and construction, obviously through real estate development, but never on the contractor side, which is a very different side of the business. So I enjoyed the idea of a new challenge, and I moved over to this industry, which has a lot of challenges. And it's been an exciting period of learning about a new industry, understanding what are the strengths and weaknesses in the industry and how we can disrupt and innovate, as I like to say, in the construction industry. And that's where we are today.
Fantastic. So let's talk about Sorensen Gross now. Tell me about the scope of operations of your company.
Absolutely. Sorensen Gross is actually a 97-year-old company.
Oh, wow.
Almost a 100-year-old company. Started in Flint, Michigan back in 1925. It has an amazing history. And one of the biggest and most important milestones in Sorensen Gross was in 1962. Ghassan Saab came as an immigrant from Lebanon and took over as an intern to the company, and then took over the company as general manager and eventually owner. And he's owned the company for 50 years. So he built the company into an amazing legacy, which became the premier builder in southeastern Michigan, and then grew also internationally, and of course across the United States, in Atlanta, in North Carolina, Florida. So we are both a domestic and international firm. In the last couple of years, I had the opportunity to bring another one of my amazing investors, Mr. Christian Kumer, who is one of the largest general contractors in Qatar, as a partner to the business. And him, myself, and Mr. Saab are now owners of the company. And we see the tremendous potential of taking this family-owned business and turning it into a professionally run international, multinational organization. Currently, we have offices in Qatar, we have offices in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Flint, and we've had tremendous growth over the last couple of years.
And which sectors of real estate are you focused in?
We are a commercial contractor and construction manager. That means we work on anything that is not single family home residential. Our sectors and verticals range from infrastructure such as water treatment plants to power facilities, to warehousing and industrial and manufacturing, as well as hospitals, multifamily, airports. It's a very large list. Anything that is the building environment as an infrastructure, this is what we do.
Amazing. So anything that has to be constructed, you will construct.
Correct. Okay. The only difference is heavy civil construction, which is roads and bridges, which is not within our industry.
Wonderful. So when I was reading about you, Rabih, you speak about disrupting and innovating in the construction industry. From whatever little I know, there's not much innovation and disruption happening. And therefore, I wanted to know from you, what are you doing that is different? And do give some examples.
Happy to. So innovate or die has always been a motto in technology, entrepreneurship, and anybody who's on the cutting edge. And you're absolutely right. The word innovation is absent in the construction sector. And there's reasons for that. The construction industry is one of the oldest and largest industries in the world, and it plays a key role in the development and economic growth of all industrialized nations. Yet, we have been using the same building techniques for over a century.
Correct.
So there are reasons, like I said, for that. The last major innovations we had during the Industrial Revolution, which was brought about by the population growth and the expansion of business. Now we're in a new age, which includes environmental protection. It's something that was never thought about before, as well as population growth. So things that people are not aware of, that we in the construction industry are actually the largest global consumer of raw materials in the world. Okay. We use approximately 30% of the world's total carbon emissions. So in that context, innovate or die is real. Environment is a major part of what we need to work on. So the built environment and the process in which we look at design and building infrastructure is changing faster than ever. And if we don't innovate as an industry, we will die, because there will be less and less competition, and certain players will dominate the market. So the biggest hurdle to innovation in construction is the stakeholder mindset. Construction companies don't want to venture on that road less traveled, as we say. It's very risky sector. Any bad miscalculation, a bad project can actually ruin a company. So there's a lot of aggressive timelines and budgets allocated to each individual projects. And that's the problem, is that each project is an individual project. It's not a process that you would find in manufacturing where you're building the same thing and there's low profitability in this business. So at the end of the day, to minimize risk, and that is the key of a successful contractor, contractors tend to go to more those traditional construction tools and time-tested processes. The other thing, the major challenge for innovation is there's so many players involved in any given construction project. It's not one player. You have the owners, developers, architects, engineers, government, and everybody has their point of view on how the process should go. And you are constrained by that. If, for example, we have BIM, which is building information management, that if the architect or engineer does not provide a contractor with that, it doesn't help. So we are definitely tied to a lot of the different players in this industry. So what are the ways that we're using it? Number one, we've made investments in tomorrow's technology and in our team members and training them so that they can leverage those new technologies and give sustainable solutions to our clients. You know, we strive to make a company culture which embraces this technological disruption. Digitization, document workflow, artificial intelligence are key differentiators in the professional services that we're doing today. Now, there are technology that are physical and there are technology that are digital, and that difference. So, for example, on the physical ones, drones have become a big part of construction. Drones allow us to survey large projects, cut down on field time, increases precision, and reduces safety issues. We can monitor sites, report on project progress, any potential problems that may have. The second part, which includes drones and it does not, is virtual and augmented reality. We can visualize every step of a project, even before we have started building a project. This changes the industry significantly and helps to bring down costs because we can identify problems before they're built in the design phase, and we can reduce and eliminate the rework process, which is a major waste in construction. So one of the technologies we use is a company that was actually started out of MIT called Open Space, and it artificial intelligence with a 360-degree camera on the hard hat of our superintendents as they walk. It's tied through artificial intelligence to the actual project plans and gives a 360-degree view, which allows the contractor, the owner, to see the real-time conditions and even use it as an as-built and be able to look back as things are built and see what was behind the walls before we closed the walls.
Wow.
What's amazing with the artificial intelligence of this is that the system can actually measure progress for us. Measure progress for us automatically, let us know how many sheets of drywall have been put up, how far are we with the progress of the ductwork, and where is the highest activity that's going on in a project, and allows our project managers to shift as they need to keep the project on schedule.
Very interesting.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, go ahead, please.
Another very interesting use of technology as well is 3D printers. This is very new, which is already, as you know, is revolutionizing healthcare and automotive. But we're looking at sophisticated printers today. We're working with a great partner named Etch about creating complex shapes and parts that does not require a full replacement of an object and be able to put that in using 3D printers. That again will bring down costs because that is the biggest issue that we have in this industry. And that's on the front end as far as equipment. Like I said, on the back end, and the key here is going to be information technology and workflow management. One of the things that I'm very excited about is blockchain. As everyone knows about the supply chain issues that we've had globally, COVID, the exposure, I would say, it's not that COVID caused it, but it exposed the global supply chain issues that we can have. Blockchain would make a very big difference because by having a blockchain-based supply management, we can improve compliance of products, authenticity, and get greater quality. And that's something in construction that would make a very big difference for us. One of the reasons is payment management is an issue in construction. Late payments and cash flow related issues are very common in construction projects. So we have a very chain payment settlement culture, and it takes much longer to settle for settlement durations than it does in other industries.
Right.
So there's always a substantial amount of payment delays, which goes down the chain from owner to contractor to subcontractors. So if we can eliminate these partial payments and non-payments, these results, which all results, by the way, in additional delays and costs for delays, which makes the contract price to be inflated to cover the cost of financing. You can bring down the cost of construction this way. So I'm a very big fan, and we're looking into right now smart contract enabled blockchain with automated payments to resolve these kinds of issues and bring in more transparency to our transactions. And it'd be wonderful to get to a point where in the supply chain, products and materials can be ordered and tracked from the moment that they're manufactured all the way to building assets, not just during the construction process, but also be tracked 20 years down the future and know exactly what part was in which part of the building. So those are some of the technologies I'm very excited about.
And thank you for this incredible response. I had no idea there is so much different varieties and types of technology that you have already started to roll out. And you seem to have covered virtually everything. But moving on, Ravi, now, when I was again reading about you, you say that you are an affordable and workforce housing advocate. Help me understand this phrase, and how are you disrupting traditional business?
So one of the biggest problems that is happening, and I believe worldwide, but definitely in the United States, is the cost of real estate has skyrocketed to the point where it's become unaffordable.
Correct.
You see people are moving in 100 years ago in the Industrial Revolution, the suburbs were the location of the wealthy, and the inner cities were those stricken with poverty. Today, we're seeing a change here because it's about convenience, and people are having to commute for hours to get to their job.
Correct.
And housing continues to be an issue, to the point where people cannot afford to this generation, the millennial generation, cannot afford to buy homes like their previous generation of baby boomers.
Correct.
So in the commercial multifamily industry, there has been a focus on luxury rental properties for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a very profitable venture. People need housing. People want to be comfortable with all today's technology.
Yeah.
However, this has really priced out the main working force, the middle class, what this country is built on. So unfortunately, we would love to depend on the developers and depend on the government to be able to push the agenda to take care and provide what I believe is a human right, which is for everybody. And it's turned more to the private industry to work together to find a way to make this an inclusive project, that development is inclusive. And I don't mean as in subsidized housing. I mean as projects that when there's a retail project or an office project, to include the infrastructure around these projects or within these projects to house the workforce that's going to be driving our nation for the next hundreds of years, hopefully. So one of the ways we're doing that, number one, is through policy. Very active with local governments on policy to make sure that affordable housing is taken to place. The second part is working with organizations to keep the cost of construction down, and trying to use construction materials supply chains, as I mentioned before, which have gone through the roof over the last couple of years. Construction costs have actually increased by 25% to 30% in some markets, and how to keep those costs down while providing the best product for the consumer.
Right. Very interesting. The next point that I wanted to talk to you, and you partly answered that, the young people are renting homes and not being able to buy them. But I'm also seeing this trend that a lot of young people who, the millennials and the Gen Zs, are very minimalistic in their needs. Do you see this trend of not buying homes getting bigger and bigger? And if yes, then what's going to happen to the industry?
Yes, I agree that this continues to grow. There is a residential housing shortage in the United States, and that will result in solid rent growth over the next period of time. It will take a lot of investment to balance the housing needs with the housing shortage. Right now, we don't have a balance in the market. In fact, the volume of commercial multifamily, because this is the way I look at it, I don't look at residential single family housing. In 2021 was the greatest of any year in asset class history. $352 billion were invested in multifamily housing. And the majority of that is rental, not condominiums, for many reasons of the cost. So I do think that this is a trend that's continuing. It's not the trend that has been before. Most people have to remember that the property sector may look the same as it was before the pandemic. However, it's not. A lot of markets and subsectors have changed forever. Some buildings and other asset classes are obsolete, and now you have to think of how to repurpose. So one of the things that had happened was doing micro units to make it affordable for people over time. But with the change in the pandemic, people realize they need more space. And if they can't get a space in their own unit, they will need the amenity space in a building. And that's one of the moves that we're going to. One of the things I would push investors, if any investors listening, is to look at land development as an investment opportunity, because scarcity of developed residential lots in the United States, and to address this housing supply shortage, because until that changes, people will continue to move towards the rental market, which is great for investors, but it does not build wealth for next generations, and that's something to keep in mind. And the other things that we need to work on, and we continue to work on, as I said, with workforce and affordable housing, is to appeal to local governments to ease land zoning regulation and ordinances so that it becomes easier to build. And it's one of those big issues that we've had over the last 20 years.
Fascinating. Rabih, I have time for one more question, and this is for the very large number of people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your incredible experience in the real estate business, and you articulated some amazing points on technology and real estate and opportunities for potential investors, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from your journey and from our conversation?
It's a great question. Number 1 is how I started this conversation: innovate or die. Don't innovate and you accept the status quo, you will not grow. And without growth, there will not be any success in business. Number 2, which was a strong, important lesson for me as I took over the leadership of a family company to transform it into a professionally run organization, is change is difficult for people. So be it through technology, through process, I would say attending to the needs, concerns, and emotions of people is key to the success of change. And finally, and I am this is very important to me because of my own background. I believe you increase the odds of success in innovation by hiring open personalities and building diverse teams. For example, I came from outside the construction industry, so I saw things very differently at a strategic level than been in the industry for 30 years, which caused friction in the beginning. But as people saw and looked outside the box, they understood what they can do and what they're capable of, and the dreams that they could build.
How interesting. Rabih, on that note, and your 3 amazing lessons: innovate or die, change is difficult, handle your people well, and the third one is hire open and diverse teams. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your amazing journey from technology to engineering to real estate. Thank you for talking to me about Sorensen Gross and the work you are doing. I also got an amazing understanding about how technology is being used in your organization to be able to further the development and to further your own needs of real estate. Finally, thank you for sharing with me a lot of your own thoughts uh, on real estate, on the millennials, on the young people, and your fantastic lessons. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.